Hi, fourth graders, it's Mrs. Perel here, and I am here to model a little bit about how you would be doing some reflecting this week on your independent reading. You will notice that you have the option to reflect on a fiction book or a nonfiction book. I'm going to show you how I would be doing some thinking along the way for each of those types of books. The first type, and I don't know if you can see it, I don't have my easel here at home, but I'm going to be flexible and do the best I can. I'm first going to reflect on the fiction book that I am reading independently. That book that I am reading is Greetings from the Witness Protection Plan, or just Greetings from Witness Protection. And what I'm going to be doing is looking for a section that I liked or a section that really hooked me as a reader. That section doesn't necessarily have to be right at the beginning of the book. So as I started to look at the book that I'm reading, I thought, well, why did I pick it up? I picked it up because the topic was the Witness Protection Program, and that's really interesting to me. So that was one potential reason or way that I might write about why the book hooked me. I also noticed that in this book, there were letters written by the main character, and that was a little different than how the chapters were written. And I loved the character, who is Charlotte. Her voice and her confidence really came through in her letters for her dad. So that was another potential way or another potential part that I might do some reflecting on. Again, when I came and I did some flipping, I found that those letters showed me really what Charlotte was feeling and what she was thinking. Boys and girls, notice that I'm using Post-it notes. Post-it notes are a really great way for you to note your thinking along the way when you're thinking about doing a reflection. But look at how far into the book I decided to go when I decided, oh yes, this is where the author really hooked me. You will notice that it's a recording, and it is all the way on page 200. And it's a recording between the lawyer and the bad guy, or the brother of this woman who she was a government informant. And the brother, the lawyer says, I know you want to tie, you have some loose ends that you want to secure. And that was like, that can't be good. And then I feel like there's some foreshadowing because the lawyer says, are you sure you want to go through with this? And as a reader, this really hooked me. This really hooked me because I was thinking, they're in trouble. I think that securing loose ends and going through with it may be a murder. So I am going to take my other ideas, I'm going to put them to the side because I feel like I can write a lot about this section. And then when I did a little bit more flipping, you'll notice that this part on page 237, it shows some incoming calls. And it also shows that the calls are disconnected, which means there's crank calls. And that, for me as a reader, I'm thinking, who is doing these crank calls? And are they connected to the bad guy brother? So this section really, page 200 and page 237, really got my interest. It really hooked me as a reader because now I'm wondering, is the bad guy going to get his sister? Is he going to kill all these people? Now, I would consider this either an experience, an adventure, or a problem. Probably a problem. A murder, I think, is a problem. And I don't know the resolution yet because you can see I still have a little bit more to go. So I'm going to do some predicting. And I predict the main character, Charlotte, is going to use a taser gun because she made a really big deal during the witness protection training program about getting a taser. So I, in the back of my mind, am predicting that taser gun is going to come up when that bad guy comes on the scene. Friends, this is one way I used some Post-it notes to track my reflecting and track what got me hooked as a reader. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, that's great, Mrs. Perel, but I'm not reading a fiction book. I'm reading a nonfiction book. And good news for you, I am also reading a nonfiction book. At my house, for our remote distance learning, we are also doing a lot of watching of Disney Plus. We watched Frozen, and at the very beginning of Frozen, there was that short film with the old-timey Mickey Mouse. And I was thinking to myself, I would like to know more about Walt Disney. Especially, I am reading this nonfiction biography with my second grader, I Am Walt Disney. So this could be why I selected this topic. I selected my biography on Walt Disney because we are watching way too much Disney Plus. But so we're reading, and we're watching. Okay, so I needed to note and reflect on what some interesting and new information might be in this book. Folks, I am not going to try to think about this and just call those new facts and interesting details off the top of my head. We know in 4th grade that good readers, strong readers, go back into the text. And I'm going to do a book walk again about all these different facts and details. Yeah, I could write fun facts, but I'm also going to think about some of those need-to-know facts that I'm really getting the hang of as I read. I felt like something that came through in the book when we were reading, Emily and I were reading, is something called cell animation. Notice again, I'm going to use my Post-it notes. Excuse me, I'm going to put that Post-it note right here. And I used a photograph, I used a caption, and then I also used some information in the text to figure out and learn how cell animation, how his talents as an illustrator transformed into animation. And it's different. Being an artist is different than being an animator. So that was one detail or new piece of information that I learned. This, as I did some book walking and book flipping, this guy is Oswald, the Lucky Rabbit. And it was really interesting to me as a reader that that was his Walt Disney's first character and that it failed. It was actually bought out by another company. And it really showed me how Walt Disney had to use some growth mindset and learn from his failures and pick himself back up. As I read that chapter, that heading about being double-crossed, I then came across this part where Mickey Mouse was first named Mortimer until his wife said, we're going to name him Mickey. And that he was created in Walt Disney's mind on a train ride. And I thought that that was a really great fact and detail. It's need to know and nice to know. Excuse the ice machine in the background. I'm working from home. Okay. Last on the reflection, I want to make sure that I am thinking about questions as a reader, questions that are coming up to me as I'm going through the text. So I noted those on Post-its back here. There was a man named Iwerks who's mentioned a lot as Walt Disney's partner. So something I'm really wondering as a reader is how is he connected to Disney World? Is he a co-owner? Who came up with that idea? And is he really important in his biography? So I'm interested about this partnership. I'm also interested in Pixar because somewhere in this book, when I was doing my book walk and as I was reading, I noticed that they had some information about Toy Story. And I know that Toy Story is a Pixar movie. I can't find that page. But so I'm wondering, how are Pixar and Walt Disney, the man, connected? Was he alive and did he think up Pixar, or is it somebody different? So again, these Post-its that I wrote down as I was doing my book walk and as I was doing my reflection are going to help me then write those in sentence form. You can do your typing right into those text box on the Google Docs. Those Google Docs are listed on our remote learning website. I hope that you are enjoying your independent reading. Let me know if we can be of any help. We miss you. We are so proud of your hard work. You are showing a lot of grit and a lot of perseverance. Happy reading, and we'll see you soon.